welcome everyone to this episode of Manufacturing Talk Radio. I'm Tim Grady. I'm here with Lou Weiss, who is president of All Metals and Forge Group, the sponsor for Manufacturing Talk Radio. If you're looking for open die forgings or seamless rolled rings for industrial uses in several metal families, check out steelforge.com. And joining us today is Matt Mong, who's Vice President of Communications for Adeaca, a project business automation company. We're going to have a lot of interesting conversation with Matt about what's happening in that arena. Matt, welcome to Manufacturing Talk Radio.
Thanks for having me, Tim. Great to be here.
Matt, I have to say something immediately because I'm a marketing guy and I love what you guys did with the term PBA. And I would like you to explain that to our audience because you're creating your own industry just with 3 words.
Yeah, so I'm sort of my other title here at the company is called VP of Category Design because of what we're trying to do here. Yeah, so project business automation as a category didn't exist before we came along, and so what I did when I got here is I looked at what we're doing, which is bringing all the project business processes, so for these project-based companies, into a business system, which is typically the ERP. So this really doesn't exist out there. I mean, there are some ideas around it, but you typically for these project-based manufacturing companies, engineer to order, those types of companies, they typically have a business system over here, their ERP, and it's generally good glorified accounting system. But then they also may have their manufacturing, some of their shop floor control in here, but as a project-based companies, all their projects are over here. And so their project management and project financials and costs and accounting and everything around projects is outside that system. And these systems don't talk. And so what we do is we bring the projects, if you're a project-based company, we bring those projects inside the business system so the projects drive everything else in the business. So we're trying to create this, not just as Adeaca PBA, as Adeaca, but as a category out there, that this is something that is needed in the market. Like these companies are desperately in need of a business system, just like these other industries like retail and the high repetitive manufacturing. They all have these integrated business systems, and these project-based companies don't. And that's what we're trying to bring to the market. And it's not just about Adeaca; it's about creating this category so that others can service this need. It's a big need that we see.
I think it's brilliant. When you say project-based businesses outside of retail, for the most part, all companies have projects going on within their right. They do. I mean, even retail companies, a lot of all kinds of companies have projects going on, whether they're doing things to upgrade certain parts of their businesses and things. So, but the difference is what we're talking about is those are typically internal projects, whereas we term the term project business is that is the core of delivering whatever product or service to your customer. That's how it gets done, is through a project. Whereas if you're a retailer or distributor, wholesaler, that's you're doing projects, but they are not how you deliver to your customer. Versus, if you're a shipbuilder, that is you're creating a project, you're delivering the product to your customer by means of a project. And so we call it a project business. And so that's really the differentiation there. Yeah, I think that's quite clever in bringing it all together. When somebody comes to you and say, okay, I'm a manufacturer, I'm a custom manufacturer. I manufacture all kinds of metalworking products. So I'll have this client, he's making wheels. I have this client who wants me to make gears and so on and so forth. every one of these projects then falls into the umbrella of your program and monitors.
Mm-hmm.
Explain that a little bit for us.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So all of that would fall into it. It doesn't quite matter what the end product is, as long as if you're delivering it through a project. That's what we do, and that's what we help these companies do. Is that the project drives everything else. So whether you're creating a turbine or you're creating a steel structure for a building, those types of things, all are projects. So what happens is you build the project in our system. Everything from the initial initiation of the project all the way through the execution and the monitoring and controls, the costing, the cost management, the accounting, and then of course the close and delivery. All of that is contained within the project, within our project business automation, so that they're not, typically what these companies are doing is they may, first of all, they'll create an estimate for a customer, and if it's an accurate estimate, it took them a long time to do it because they have to go back to engineering and installation and figure out what all the parts are and how to do it, and then they deliver the estimation, and then they turn around, they have to execute on that project, so they have to build a project for that, and then executing all of that is typically done through a myriad of different applications. Mostly, you've got a project management application maybe, and that usually is just you build the initial project and then it's just kind of static, and you're trying to follow the project plan. And then, but typically what happens is, you've got just a myriad of Excel spreadsheets, like just all over the place, where you're trying to manage costs, you're trying to manage schedule changes and things like that, resourcing and all that and it just ends up being a big mess. So that's what we bring together all in one system. So it's all real time, it's all seamless. It's just a major upgrade as far as efficiency and control and visibility into what's going on in the business.
So let me ask you this. I'm going to go back to my manufacturing company. I make wheels and gears and this, and that, and the other thing. And I see something about you, and I call you in, and what's the methodology of getting involved? I would assume that assessment would be in there, probably number one. So
sure.
Explain that process. And typically, how long does it take to do an assessment? And I know that you deal with all size companies, but there still has to be a range of time that you put into this before you ever think of creating the product.
Yeah. I mean, so a couple of different ways to look at that. So there is a big range, obviously, but it is a full-on business system. It's an ERP. Our ERP is actually Microsoft Dynamics 365. So it is a top tier 1 ERP. And what we do is we bring our solution inside of that, so it's seamless. So and when you're talking ERP and business systems, there's just it's not a turn it on and let's go. Although it is so much easier now in the cloud world. It can be very fast if you're going out of the box. It can be up and running very quickly, I would say in a matter of a few months. So typically we do come in, we will perform, we'll do a lot of due diligence, a lot of discovery. We figure out from all the different stakeholders in the company what they need, what they're looking for, because a lot of times they come to us and they'll come to us with one or two ideas of what they're looking for. Well, we need some, cost control, project cost control, or we need some, project estimation. Okay, so we'll look at that, but let's take a little bigger look at everything else too, because it's, that'll fix one thing in your business, but what about all these other things? So we try and bring it all together. But I would say, typically you're looking at a 3 to 6 month engagement at a minimum until, you go live. But yeah, a lot of that depends on the complexity of the business and the size of the organization. So there are a lot of range there. We've been in talks with companies for 18, 24 months,
Really?
Yeah, it's just, when you're talking about a big organization and getting budgeting approved and, where you got thousands of people, thousands of users, it's a big process.
Speaking about the number of users, is your system, is your compensation based on number of users, or is it a purchase with add-ons? How does that work?
Yeah, so with the Microsoft Dynamics and Azure Cloud, it is a subscription basis based on number of users. There are a number of different types of users that are part of the system, full users and team members and things like that, where and it's all based off the Microsoft licensing model. So we follow that in line just to make it very easy and simple and straightforward for our customers. But typically, yeah, you're looking at a user-based subscription, and then which is typically done over a yearly basis, or maybe you'll sign up for a 3-year contract, but it's paid annually, things like that.
Jim, are you in this, or am I over talking you? I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, it's all right. Matt, what size companies can you deal with? Can you deal with a company of 10 employees, or only 100 or above, or 500 or above, or
right? So for Adeaca, we tend to focus on basically companies 100 people and up. And that's really just because of the solution that we've created in Project Business Automation for Microsoft is kind of an enterprise level, whereas there's a 20 user minimum, but it's an ERP, and so if you're a 30-person company, it just doesn't make sense for you to spend that money and that time and resources trying to implement an ERP, big business system. So typically we're looking at 100 people at least. Usually probably a sweet spot for us is anywhere between 250 and 1,000, 2,000. But we have a big range. We have customers that are 100, and we have customers that are 5,000, 10,000 people. So
I'm going to give you a multi-million-dollar idea. All right, you ready?
Great. Absolutely.
I can't imagine that you wouldn't have thought of this. Why, being that 85% of our economy is manufacturing. Is that correct, Tim? Is that the number, or is it 70?
Well, manufacturing is 30% of the economy, but 85% of all business is small.
There you go. So 30% of the business is manufacturing, and there are a lot of mom and pop shops, 10, 15, 25.
Yeah.
You ought to come up with a reduced version, a primer version. Because there's a lot more customers out there, and you're not putting all your eggs in General Motors and Ford and the rest of them. Have you thought about that?
Absolutely. It's in our roadmap, but I would say that's maybe a couple years down the road, but it is in our roadmap. It may not be the same exact system. It would be similar, but yeah, I mean, absolutely. And it would, there is a lot of volume out there as far as the number of businesses that are under that 100 sort of threshold for us.
Sure.
We love what we do. We're all about innovation, and we're pushing the envelope both up and as far as the enterprise space, but we want to push it down too, you know, because that's the way it works is, you know, you start to be able to simplify things even more and more, and then we're going to be able to offer something for that lower tier.
We find that the small companies that in manufacturing, you know, they're so busy making things that they're many things that they're not caught up to speed with. One is technology, and the other is marketing. And you know, they're just waiting for checks to come in so they can make more sales and make more parts, but they're not thinking out of the box. Most people can't hire a vice president of communications to implement things of this nature. So it is a big problem, and it's a huge market.
Yeah, it is. I mean, these and it's this way, not just in manufacturing, but even across most of these project businesses where, you know, they've just been doing the same thing for the 30 years, and they just, that's just the way it is. And it's sort of kind of the wild, wild west out there sometimes when you're talking about projects. You know, if you look at projects overall and some of the stats behind them, you know, the vast majority finish behind schedule or over budget. Like, it's, you know, rarely do you see, you know, projects are actually on time, within budget. It's just, and they're just like, well, that's just the way it works. You know, things happen. And it's not necessarily that that's just the way it works. That's how we look at it. Like there's gotta be a better way. And that's what we're trying to do.
Man, I hope you're going to be reaching out to the federal government and their subcontractors when they're about to spend $2-something trillion on infrastructure, which always finishes over budget, and you know the timeline is terrible.
Absolutely.
That's one place we could really use your help. You'll save us a bundle.
Yeah, right.
Are you saying that our government isn't efficient?
Only for 100 years or 200 years or so. Matt, give us some examples of what a project-based company is so that our listeners would go, oh, that might work for me.
Right. So basically you know, in manufacturing is, we call them project manufacturing, engineer to order. But there's lots of different industries that these people fall into, whether, you know, depending on who they're manufacturing for, like in energy and renewables, into automotive, telecommunications, and even life sciences and biotechnology. So I'll give you a couple examples. We have a customer that does mold making, and they engineer to order specific types of molds. They machine different things for these customers, but it's all unique to every customer. You know, they drive everything through projects, and these projects are gigantic. These are industrial type, commercial type orders, and you know, you're talking projects with thousands of tasks, you know, that they have to manage, and so that's what we help them do. Another example, quite a bit different, is we have a customer that basically manufactures mice. So they genetically engineer mice for research. And, you know, whether that's for another customer or organization, or internally for their own research and development, they're actually a nonprofit. So, you know, mice is a big part of what they do. And they have to deliver different types of mice, you know, different, whether, you know, certain genes and certain types of species of mice, you know, it's, I don't know all the details, but, you know, it's an interesting field for sure. So, I mean, lots of different ways to look at this, and these different companies might not think, oh, I'm a project manufacturer, but if you dig down and you look at it, oh, okay, actually, yeah, everything is a project. You know, all of our production is done through projects. So you've got to, you know, take a deeper look at your business. And if projects are at the core of it, then they need to be at the core of your business system too, and drive everything.
Well, I'm glad you're working with the mice manufacturers, and I know that genetics is important. There was an old joke about that industry that, because of the way mice are, no matter what you fed them, they got cancer.
Right.
So they have to engineer that out. So they're actually a good test subject. And, it's an amazing thing that they do to try to figure out how to generate a good test subject so they can make things safe for humans. And that's really what they're doing.
It is. It's a
Hell of a project.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hell of a project. Yeah.
that's right. So if our listeners and viewers want to get a hold of you, where do they go, Matt?
Adeaca.com, which is ADEACA.com. And, we have a lot of information on our site. We have a project business automation blueprint. So if you're interested in what this category of project business automation is all about, we have a blueprint that defines this for you and gets you an idea of what, you should be looking for in any business system if you're a project-based company.
I happen to have your project business automation blueprint in front of me. And it's about 15 pages of really valuable information. And again, I'm going to refer back to my original statement. I love where you describe project business automation and taking pride of ownership of creating effectively a new industry.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. I mean, so it's been great so far. We're getting a lot of reception when we talk to people about this concept. I mean, even Forrester has recently done a report on project business automation, not Adeaca, and a report on Adeaca, a report on the businesses category. So it is growing, and there's a lot of support behind it as far as when we talk to people and our customers and our prospects, like it's kind of an immediate boom, light goes on, and this totally makes sense.
Is it Foster, the research people that you're talking about?
What's that?
Foster, they wrote a report on PBA.
Forrester, sorry.
Forrester, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Forrester, the analysis firm. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Well, this has been very useful, Matt. We appreciate you coming on the show and sharing what you do. A couple of things we would like to work with you on in post-production, and that is to share with you a link to the show. You can put the link up on your website so people can come and watch this episode. Lou has that document. We'd like your permission to post that document with this show so that people have more than a show. If there's a document there they can read.
Absolutely.
And we'd like you to consider submitting to us a 1,000-word article for our monthly publication, Manufacturing Outlook.
Mm-hmm.
And we can plug that into the equation because we'd love to promote this in all the ways that we can.
Absolutely. Yeah, that all sounds great. We'll do that when you're looking to go live.
We'll deal with all of that offline, and we'll set up what needs to be done. But we appreciate you participating.
Absolutely. Great to be here.
Yeah.
Great.
Our producer doesn't let the host schedule anything.
We only screw it up.
I hear you. I hear you.
That's because I don't have a project-based program.
Yeah, that's
Right. Right. These are all projects. It's fun.
I know. I said that to Tim earlier. Everything we do is a project.
Right.
You're a project.
When we get bigger, we'll call you and say, help.
Yeah, right.
Tim, this morning I had 319 emails.
That's a project in itself.
That's a project.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Wow.
319. I almost went home.
I feel, yeah, right. Let's just wait till Monday on that.
Well, then I'll have 1,000.
Exactly right.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us. And I found it very interesting. And if you want to give us an email address, if you wish, we'll be happy to let you do that.
Sure thing. I mean, my email is mattm@adeaca.com, and you can also reach the company at sales@adeaca.com.
Excellent.
So
Thank you.
while you're surfing the web and going to Adeaca, which is ADEACA.com, also surf over to jacketmediaco.com, where you will find links to all of the podcasts and the e-zine that Jacket Media produces, including this show. And thank you for listening to this episode of Manufacturing Talk Radio.